If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Your support helps us share more amazing stories. Elena Morova had a quiet life that most people mistook for contentment. At 49, she lived alone in a small town called Novi Bor, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business, if not the whole truth. She kept a steady job at the little pharmacy by the market square and came home to a tidy one-bedroom flat that whispered of routines, a kettle on the stove, a single coat on the rack, a book half read on the nightstand. Her divorce had been over a decade ago. Her ex-husband had moved on without drama. He'd rerouted his life into a new marriage and a different kind of quiet. Her son, Alex, had left for Prague years ago and dropped messages into her phone more often than he called. Elena liked to tell herself she wasn't lonely. She had friends at work, neighbors who stopped by with gossip and knitting needles, enough obligations to fill a calendar. But nights were long and the apartment felt larger in the dark. She presented herself the way she'd always learned to: practical clothes that flattered without asking for attention, sensible shoes, a bit of mascara to keep her face from looking tired. Customers at the pharmacy complimented her poise and told her with warm insistence that a woman like her shouldn't be alone. Their words were meant kindly, but they never touched the hollow that opened up each evening. One Tuesday afternoon, she reached for a box of ointments on a high shelf in the storeroom. There was a sharp click in her back and a hot white pain that stole her breath. She had to sit down on the floor, hand pressed to her spine, and let the world tilt around her for a few moments. The pain didn't fade. Her doctor gave her time off and a list of exercises. For 2 days, she softened into her couch, rubbing menthol cream into the sore spot and cursing the gradual betrayals of age. On the 3rd day, Marta from the 3rd floor appeared at her door with a steaming container and a grin that suggested she already knew how Elena would react. Marta was the sort of neighbor who kept the building's thermometer of gossip practical, warm, and unafraid to make direct recommendations. "You haven't been in 3 days, Lena," Marta said, thrusting the container toward her. "Your soup, my mother's recipe. And listen, there's a man in the neighborhood, Viktor Petrov. He used to run the therapy wing at the sanatorium. Now he sees people at home. The older women swear by him. They say his hands are, well, miraculous." Elena lifted an eyebrow. "You want me to undress in front of a stranger?" "You're not undressing," Marta said briskly. "You're getting better. He's careful, cultured. He's a widower, quiet. He knows how to press a muscle. 2 sessions and you'll be walking without limping." She put a number into Elena's phone and left with a conspiratorial wink. Elena stared at the digits for a long time, feeling suddenly 19 and awkward. She finally dialed. The voice that answered was low and steady. "Hello. Marta gave me your number." Elena said, "My lower back. It's been acting up. Could I come by tomorrow at 3? "Tomorrow at 3 is fine. Wear something comfortable. Bring a robe. I'll send the address." There were no prying questions. Viktor's calm, efficient manner felt like a bomb even before she'd met him. The next morning, Elena fussed over a blouse and a long navy skirt, tied her hair back in a low knot, and dabbed a little vanilla behind her ears. She told herself she was dressing properly for the appointment. The truth was, she felt lighter, unexpectedly anticipatory. Viktor's flat was on the edge of town in a concrete block, much like the others. A small sign read therapeutic massage. When he opened the door, the room smelled faintly of eucalyptus oil and old wood. He was about 53, tall and broad-shouldered with streaks of grey at his temples and an alert, almost disciplined way of standing that hinted at a life of routine. "Come in," he said, "undressed to your undergarments, and put on the robe. I'll step out while you change." Left alone for a minute, Elena's heart rattled with a curious nervousness, not fear, but the staccato pulse of something unfamiliar. Viktor returned with warm hands and a reassuring silence. He worked with quiet competence, locating the tight knot at the base of her spine with the skill of someone who'd memorized the map of muscles. When he pressed, she made a small, involuntary sound, and he murmured, "That's it," as if the admission itself mattered. There was nothing crude about his touch. The oil warmed beneath his palms, movements deliberate and gentle. He avoided unnecessary proximity, but moved with a tenderness that somehow unsettled her defenses. "Have you been alone a long time?" he asked as he pressed along her thigh to ease the tension upward. "More than 10 years, she said. 6, he said after a pause. A small confession. He spoke as he worked. "People come to me for relief from pain, but sometimes they leave with something else. Comfort, attention, a reminder they're seen." His fingers kept searching, smoothing away knots. The pain in her back dissolved under his hands, and with it walls Elena had built around herself. He suggested 2 more sessions. On her way out, he slipped her coat into her arms, and when he brushed the scarf around her neck, his fingers grazed her skin and a shiver went down her spine. "See you tomorrow," he said. The next day, Elena woke earlier than usual. The ointment and rest had eased the pain to near nothing, but a different ache. Small, electric, expectant, had settled under her ribs. She wore a burgundy wrap dress that suggested her shape without demanding notice, and let a few curls fall loose. It was surprising how much attention she now paid to herself. Viktor's apartment was warmer this time, with low jazz playing and a faint trail of incense. The robe was ready. That appointment stretched into more than therapy. He worked along her neck and shoulders with a careful intimacy that felt professional yet deeply personal. He timed his touches like someone who listened to a body's language, where it tensed, where it softened. Sometimes his elbow would brush the soft hollow under her arm. Sometimes his palm trailed along the side of her thigh. Each touch was technical, but each left a tiny, undeniable impression. "You have expressive skin," he said once. Almost observing, almost admiring. "It tells me when it's content." Elena didn't know how to answer. She closed her eyes and let herself be seen. When he asked if she was okay, she replied, quieter than she meant, "Better than okay." One afternoon, midway through a session, Viktor paused and apologized. "Forgive me. I feel more than I should." Their eyes met. There was no pressure in his gaze, only a restrained honesty. Elena felt a rush of trust. We can stop, she said. Or we can talk. He chose talk. They spent minutes folded into silence, a slow kind that was not awkward, but full. After that, their appointments changed shape. No longer clinic and purely functional, the room took on a softer tone. He made tea for her once. She brought him a jar of honey from the village another day. Little ordinary exchanges became the scaffolding of something delicate and close. When Viktor told her he'd been offered work back at a large health center in the regional city, a good position that might mean better pay and a different life, Elena felt her world tilt precariously. He spoke of it as an opportunity that could reframe his next years. I don't expect you to uproot, he said. Then, softer, but if you wanted to come, I wouldn't say no. His words landed like a wind gust on dry leaves. Thrilling. Frightening. Could she leave behind Novi Bor? Could she risk the ordinary safety of home for something that promised warmth and uncertainty? A few days later, he left to file some paperwork. He promised to return that evening. He didn't. Her calls went unanswered. A week stretched like a sore muscle. She found herself at the train station more than once, looking up times to Dnipro, imagining catching a train and not letting him go. She texted and sent a message that wouldn't send. I'll go with you if you still want me. I need to know you'll be near. Then, a small miracle, Viktor arrived at her door 8 days after his disappearance. Disheveled, clothes dusted with dirt, a scraped phone in a pocket. I'm sorry, he said. I had an accident. The car, it's totaled. The phone died in water. I'm fine. I'm so sorry I worried you. Elena's response was not a flurry of tears or frantic words. It was a simple rush forward. She wrapped both arms around him and held on as if the hold itself might tether him to the world she had begun to imagine with him in it. He laughed through the tremors in his voice. If you disappear on me again, she told him, half pleading, half joking, I'll strangle you. He took her hand, and for the first time in a long time, Elena knew the feeling of being exactly where she belonged. They moved slowly after that. No grand declarations the next morning. No rush to redefine everything at once. They sat together over tea in the quiet of his small kitchen. They talked about ridiculous things and never spoke about the future in any decisive terms. Yet everything had shifted. Her apartment no longer sounded hollow when she returned to it. Viktor's presence, even when he wasn't there, felt like a light in the window on a stormy night. One evening on the balcony, with a chicken dinner and roasted pumpkin between them and candles blinking in the dusk, Viktor told her the sanatorium had offered him a managerial role in the city, a chance to restart a career, a chance to be useful in a bigger place. He looked at her with a kind of nervous hope. I'd like you to come with me, he said. If you want. Elena looked out over the rooftops, the market silhouette, softened by twilight. The town she'd always known had shaped her in small, important ways. But whatever fear she had of leaving was outweighed by the sense of being chosen. The night breathed around them, warm, steady, full of small, ordinary magic. Let me think, she said. But thinking felt unnecessary. She leaned into him, pressing her cheek to his shoulder, and whispered, yes. When they laughed about it later, standing in the hallway among boots and scarves, it felt less like an ending and more like a beginning. Two people who had stitched together a life of ordinary pieces and found finally that together they made a whole. Kindly leave a comment, like, and subscribe for more exclusive contents.